Big show, and we are out of time, so that'll do it for this edition of What's It Worth. And remember, if you'd like to have your sports memorabilia appraised on our show, please email us and tell us about your collectibles and any interesting stories associated with them. The address is whatsitworth@yesnetwork.com. Thanks for joining us. For John Brigandi, I'm Andrea Joyce. We'll see you next time on What's It Worth.
The following is an exclusive presentation of the Yes Network.
On this edition of What's It Worth, Vince Lombardi had a legendary career as head coach of the Green Bay Packers. But do you know where his coaching career began? The New York Yankees won 4 straight world championships in the late 1930s. We'll check out an engraved commemorative bat from one of those teams. Will autographs from Wilt the Stilt and Air Jordan give a financial lift to this collector? And we'll hear the story of how a grandfather started his grandson's love for baseball, the Yankees, and collecting. It's all next on Yes Network's What's It Worth? Welcome to What's It Worth, the Yes Network Sports Memorabilia Show. I'm Andrea Joyce. What's It Worth is the show where viewers like you tell us about their sports collectibles. We invite them on our show to hear the stories behind their items, and we in turn let them know how much their collectibles are worth. And joining me to help us put a value on these wonderful sports collectibles is John Brigandi from Brigandi Coin Company, a memorabilia dealer from New York City. Welcome once again.
Wonderful to be here again.
All right, let's get started. All right, we've got a lot to look at today. Our first guest today, Stan Adams of Baldwin, New York, has brought in a very interesting item concerning the legendary football coach Vince Lombardi. Lombardi is best known, of course, for his 9 years as the head coach of the Green Bay Packers, including leading the Packers to victories in the first 2 Super Bowls. But Stan, you are here to talk about what he did before he did that, right? Actually, how his coaching career began.
Yeah, this is an athletic pass from St. Cecilia High School in Englewood, New Jersey. This was Vince's first coaching job. I think he was also a math teacher at St. Cecilia in the early 1940s. This was given to my father by Vince, who used to live right next door to us in Englewood. And it's the first time I didn't even know it existed until my father died in the mid 1980s, and you know, I was just going through an old box, and there it was.
Do you remember Vince Lombardi, or do you remember your dad telling you stories about him? What kind of
Not at all.
He was,
no, my father wasn't that way. I didn't even know that they were friends until long after. Interestingly enough, I went to the same high school later in the late 50s and in the early 60s. But apparently they used to play cards on a regular basis, which is something that I never knew. And no, he never did bring it up. So I never talked to
the attic for more stuff.
I never talked to him about it during his lifetime, because I didn't know it existed.
So this is the game pass, the high school game pass, and it's autographed.
Yeah, it's autographed. Well, actually, it was signed by Vince because he was the football coach as well as the athletic director. So it was just a season's pass, as far as I know. That allowed him to get into the games. It was probably a season's ticket, actually.
How great is that?
What do you think? You've never seen that. I know you've never seen one of those.
That's just, it's great. First of all, it's priceless to you. Yeah. You would never sell it. I hope you'd never sell it. In terms of what it's worth in the open market, it's worth between $500 and $750. But it's extraordinary. You know, it's the type of thing that, you know, every collector would love to have in their collection.
Now, would you like to have a picture of him from those days coaching and put that with?
Yeah, where would you find that? That would be great.
You know, I don't know.
But I love the way he...
Maybe a yearbook, maybe an old yearbook from the high school?
Yeah, I love the way he just displays it on the stand.
You got me thinking now. I'm
frame it up, put a picture of it. It's just great the way it is.
Yeah.
I mean, just it speaks for itself.
Yeah, one of a kind.
Yeah, it sure is.
Great. Thanks for bringing it in. A lot of us have stories of how our mothers got rid of that box of baseball cards we had in the attic, or how mysteriously some of our memorabilia disappeared during a garage sale. Well, our next guest, Joe Russo from Bellport, New York, is here to tell us how his mother actually acquired a piece of memorabilia for him at someone else's garage sale. Presumably she was not feeling guilty about something she had let go, right?
She loved a great sale.
No, all right, tell us about, now the first item you're going to talk about is the bat?
Right. Well, my mom, God bless her soul, loved garage sales. And me being brought up in the Bronx, became a big Yankee fan. And anytime she seen anything pertaining to the Yankees, she would pick it up for me. And for my 30th birthday, she actually got me that ball, which has most of the Yankees from 60 to 61 on there, which is great because growing up at that time as a kid, I remember these players, you know, Yogi, Mickey, and
Did she get this at a garage sale, too?
these two items at
Both
different
of these.
times. This was about 20-something years ago, and this was about 12 years ago.
And the bat, go back to the bat, this is a signed bat?
A 1937, I believe the signatures are stamped in there,
Uh-huh.
of the world champion Yankees, and there's about 7 Hall of Famers on the bat. DiMaggio, Gehrig, Dickey.
And this?
This ball was given to me by a friend of mine, Neil Heaton, who pitched on the 1990 All-Star team. And he came into my shop one day and he threw me the ball. He goes, here, because I know you appreciate it.
So these are all the players from the All-Star game in 1990?
The National League All-Stars.
So which one do you think is the most expensive of the three?
I personally like the 61 Yankee ball.
Mm-hmm.
Because I remember those players growing up, and they all mean a lot to me. I mean, my mom gave me this and that, and Neil being a good friend, that ball means a lot to me, too.
And that doesn't mean a lot to you, right? That doesn't,
What?
this bat.
I'm too young. No.
Good answer.
No. I don't know, because I'm assuming that because the names are stamped, that it's not.
Okay, well, this is the sleeper of the group. This was a special souvenir bat. They call them black bats today, but this is the precursor to black bats known as a brown bat, issued in the late 30s. It's like 3 or 4 years of brown bats, given only to players on the team and a few of the baseball executives within the organization. The condition could be better, obviously, but one in pristine condition is worth a lot of money. One in pristine condition from 1937. And they are, by the way, they are facsimile stamped-in signatures made by the bat company at the time, the popular bat company at the time, Hillerich and Bradsby. In the condition that it's in, it's worth between $1,000 and $1,500, believe it or not. And a little furniture polish, though, will bring it back a long way. It would be double or triple that, double that value at least, in nicer condition. This is a 1960 and not a 1961 ball, but worse than that. It contains...
That's your first piece of bad news.
This is the first piece. The signature of Mickey Mantle is what they call a clubhouse signature, one done by someone within the clubhouse and not Mickey Mantle himself. How do I know? I just know that version of the signature. And there's also a Roger Maris that is also a clubhouse. All the other signatures are real.
And this is not uncommon, though, that the big stars would have the kid in the clubhouse sign them, or a secretary?
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And the condition could be better, so that's not really worth a lot of money. That's worth maybe $300 to $500 maximum. This is a 1990, as you said.
Who are some of the names on here from the 1990 All-Star game?
You've got some, you've got future Hall of Famers on there. Ozzie Smith, of course, is a Hall of Famer. Andre Dawson is a marginal Hall of Famer. Tony Gwynn, which is a certain Hall of Famer, is on there. And Barry Bonds, 1990 Barry Bonds, which is very early in his career, is also on there.
Don't forget Neil.
And Neil Heaton, who gave it to him, right? The ball, and it's in excellent condition. The ball is almost virtually mint condition. That ball is worth between $500 and $600. But the sleeper, as I said, the one that you would least expect is the bat. That's the good one. And there's not that many out there. There can't be more than, 15 to 20 extant.
Either one of these go up in value?
This one will definitely go up in value. I just wish the condition was better. It may be the worst example I've seen of a 37, souvenir bat, but it is what it is. It's still the real McCoy. And I don't think this will ever go up in value, unfortunately.
This one?
That'll go up, that'll go up in value, slightly, yeah.
Great.
Thank
you.
for coming in. When What's It Worth continues, we'll check out autographs from Air Jordan and Wilt the Stilt, and later find out how this grandfather's job made one grandson very happy. We are joined now by Jeff Silberman from New Jersey. And Jeff, why don't you tell us about some of the things you've brought in here, starting with the autographs from the basketball legends. How about starting with the basketball?
All right, this is a Wilt Chamberlain signed ball. I got it a few years ago. I have about 85 or 90 autographs, and I've always loved the old timers in the game, and he scored 100 points and averaged 50 in a single season. And
so that was something you wanted to add to your collection,
right.
And next to that you have?
Oh, the 1995 Stanley Cup champion New Jersey Devils. Big Devils fan. I figured, why not get the ball?
And did you get that signed, or you bought that signed?
We purchased it. It was autographed by about 16 members of the team.
So some of the guys on there?
Scott Stevens, Scott Niedermeyer, Brodeur, Mike Peluso was assistant captain, Brian Ralston.
And a very colorful Fight of the Century poster. Is that a poster?
I know it's a program from the 1971 fight between Joe Frazier and Muhammad Ali, and both boxers signed it.
And that was the first of their 3 fights, and both of them signed that, and that's another item that you purchased?
Right.
And down here in front of the table?
Right, this is Michael Jordan. After he won his first championship, he has his father on the left. It's a
And
great
it's
shot.
signed. All right, John, take us through. You've got a lot of work to do here.
Well, it's nice to see someone who likes the throwback players, the old timers.
Someone
That's
so
great.
young.
That's right. Someone so young. Wilt Chamberlain was always a difficult autograph, even when he was living, and now that he's deceased, he's even more sought after. That ball is worth about $350. The Stanley Cup piece, usually signed by just about everyone on the team, about 15 or 16 players. That sells for about $750 to $1,000. As for the Fight of the Century, and you know, speaking about throwbacks, that was one of the great events probably in sports history. The build-up to the fight was just extraordinary. It was a week or 2 weeks of just incredible anticipation. It wasn't televised. It was strictly on radio, and you'd listen to the radio, and they would give you a little blow-by-blow action, or certainly round-by-round action. Of course, Frazier won, and Muhammad Ali, for the first time, I believe it was, got knocked on his rear, as a matter of fact. But Ali, of course, got his revenge in the next 2 fights.
Right.
That seems to be a reproduction of promotion for the fight, of a playbill or of a program of some sort. That's worth, and signed by both.
Right.
Ali, obviously, is very difficult these days to obtain. That's what really carries the strength in terms of value of that piece. That's worth about $500. Yeah. And the wonderful 16 by 20 color shot of Jordan holding the trophy usually is obtained only by Upper Deck, who has the exclusive contract to his autographs these days, and they sell for, I think he told me to pay $1,200. That's about right. That's the only place to get real, authentic Michael Jordan autographs, from Upper Deck Company.
Have your items appreciated?
Yes, tremendously. No.
They have?
Yeah.
Okay, well then that's good news for you, right?
Especially with Ali. Yes, very good news.
Okay,
That's great.
terrific. All right, thanks for bringing all this stuff
Thank you.
in. When What's It Worth continues, we'll take a look at an incredible collection of baseball memorabilia, including this unique Mickey Mantle bat. While growing up, our next guest, Paul Berkman from New York City, had the good fortune of having his grandfather work as a security guard at Yankee Stadium. Because of this, Paul had the chance to meet many Yankees and opposing team stars during the 50s and 60s. This inn his grandfather gave him turned out to be a great way to start collecting memorabilia. And over the years, Paul's love of baseball, collecting memorabilia, and most of all, the Yankees, has only grown. Paul, welcome to the show. And why don't you tell us first, what was it like having your grandfather work at Yankee Stadium? That must have been great. This is a picture of him right here, right?
Absolutely.
In his uniform?
This is where my love for baseball absolutely begins. Well, there was called a special police force that they had in Yankee Stadium. In those days, you never saw New York City policemen in the ballpark. They were outside. Inside, you had what looked like uniformed policemen, but they were a separate security force. And his job was, well, you had the visitors' dugout. Right next to the dugout, the first box was reserved for the owners of the visiting team. So his job was to actually sit right at the bottom of the aisle there, right between the dugout and the owners of the team. And he got to know everybody in the American League.
Wow.
Yeah, and so for me, going to the ball game as a kid meant during batting practice before the game started, I'd either be out on the field or in the dugout. meeting players, getting autographs.
And he met so many
Oh, yeah.
players. I
And
mean,
he knew
you've got
them
a
all.
couple of personalized balls here that were assigned to your grandfather, right?
Yes, this was from Hank Greenberg. It says to Teddy. His name was Teddy Rothenberg, my grandfather. And he actually played semi-pro ball with Hank Greenberg when they were both younger. And that's signed to Teddy. I think it says my best wishes, Hank Bruggy Greenberg. I'm told that Bruggy is a nickname that only was used when he was very young,
The close
not during
friends
his professional career.
And then the other one?
That says to Ted, who I've known for 35 years, Ted Williams. These are just two of many balls that he got and collected. He just knew all these people
And
personally.
take us through some of these other items. And again, this is through your grandfather being there day in and day out.
Yeah, so I go to the ball game, and I get to sit during the game in the best seats, often with the owners of the visiting team, or many times they weren't there, and that box was empty. That was for me and my friends, so I was a very
Not
popular.
bad.
Everybody wanted to go to ball games with me, so it made me a popular kid. But this is a souvenir. Back in those days, if you went to Old Timers Day, you got a souvenir program that they gave out for free. So in this case, this is 1965, and it was honoring stars of the past from that vantage point. So because I was sitting in the dugout during batting practice, I got a lot of autographs. Got some like Rube Marcotte and
Pee Wee Reese,
Frankie Frisch and Pie Trainer and
Dizzy Dean.
Yeah, so there's a lot of real
Jumping
legends
all
out here.
over looking at these.
Guys who have long since passed away. I mean, these are real legends. So those
Okay, and then you've got the plate,
Yeah.
or the Mickey Mantle Day. Let's take a look at that.
Well,
That's
this
fine.
is the day that he was given for him in 1965 at Yankee Stadium. Again, a souvenir program that was given out. Many years later, well, starting in 1986, I began going to Yankee fantasy camps. And I've been going virtually every year since.
You
And
had a fantasy camp when you were young with your
Yes.
grandfather.
Well,
That was a different one.
Then,
And now this
then we
one-
found out about these fantasy camps that Mickey and Whitey were actually running a fantasy camp. Mickey Mantle and Whitey Ford, and so I knew that was made for me. And at one of those camps, somebody asked Mickey that day, "What was your greatest day in baseball?" And he said it was when they gave me a day in 1965. And I went up right after that with two of these programs from that day.
You had them with you?
I had them with me, and I'm not sure if he had ever seen one, because he sat down with great interest, opened it up and read it, and autographed both of them.
And the plate?
But this is a plate that, again, I've had for many years. I don't even remember how I got it. I'm sure I bought it somewhere along the way, but decades later, brought it to fantasy camp and got it signed by Don Larson and Yogi Berra. This is a commemorative plate that was made to honor the perfect game in 1956 in the World Series.
And the baseball.
This is another ball that I got from my grandfather as a kid. It's an early Yankee team ball. It's obviously the early 50s, because what to me is unique about it is normally when you get multiple players, like a team, to sign a ball, the big stars go on what's called the sweet
The
spot.
sweet spot, sure.
And normally that's Mickey Mantle. You know, here we have Yogi Berra and Phil Rizzuto sharing the sweet spot. Mickey's on there, but he's just buried among the other players. And there wasn't very much of his life where he signed autographs like that. So I think that's I don't know if unique is the word, but rare.
And last but not least, the bat.
Ball players would use bats and crack them and toss them. And my grandfather would bring them home for me. I have a closet to this day full of cracked bats, game-used bats. And this one I always knew was somewhat unique because it's got a special engraving on it. It says All-Star Game, Mickey Mantle, St. Louis, 1957. So the bat was given to Mickey as a souvenir for being selected and playing in the 1957 All-Star Game. So it's dated and inscribed.
And then you had him sign it.
Well, apparently he used it in a ball game at Yankee Stadium after that. Nobody had any sense of value of memorabilia in those days. Tossed it. My grandfather brought it home. It sat in my closet for 30-something years, and then I brought it to fantasy camp, and Mickey signed it.
You've got
A little work.
treasure trove here.
I have a little work to do.
We could open up a little shop right here at this table, couldn't we?
Well, we'll go slowly and one by one. A vintage 1950s signed Hank Greenberg ball made out to Ted, personalized, so not as good as if it wasn't personalized, but it has that nickname, which is kind of interesting. That's worth between $750 to $1,250 to a collector. The vintage 1960s Ted Williams ball inscribed with a nice inscription, I might add, to your grandfather, which, you know, a nice inscription, means a little bit more than if he just inscribed it, obviously. Yeah. That would be worth probably $750 because of the inscription. Ordinarily, a personalized Ted Williams ball is probably only worth $300 maybe.
That's because it's personalized.
Yeah, but this has got a
value.
Oh,
Of course,
you know,
of course.
well, as long as we're talking about this is priceless, right? You can't put a price on your grandfather's vintage photograph. Old Timers Day program with various Hall of Fame signatures. Believe it or not, probably only $350, $400. It seems like you have so many autographs in the aggregate, but it's paper and it's hard to display and it's busy and there's no one great autograph there. Frankie Frisch, maybe a Rube Marquardt being the best. 1965 mantle program, again paper with a contemporary mantle signature in Sharpie pen, $300, $350. The commemorative plate, probably about the same price, $300, $350 you had it signed. But now we're getting to the nitty-gritty. It's a 1955 Yankee team ball with a wonderful version, a vintage version of Mickey Mantle's autograph. Notice the style. Notice the style versus where he signed here on in the 1980s or the 1990s. Real, not a clubhouse version that we always speak about. Absolutely real. In nice condition, this ball, by the way. Worth easily $1,500, maybe as much as $2,000, 55. Yankee team ball, complete. But now the best piece of all, and this is absolutely a privilege for me to appraise this. It's wonderful. It's a, well, let's go back. Each player was given a bat by Hillridge and Bradsby, the bat company, to play in the All-Star game. That's sort of their little award. This was Mantle's bat that he used, that he was given for the 1957 All-Star game. And what is more, he used it. He cracked it. Signed in, you tell me, in the late 80s. Mantle signed bats are very difficult. He did not sign bats very often. He only signed them early in his career. And then when he went onto the circuit, he didn't sign because he felt that he should get more, or at least his agents felt that he should get more. And then on the eve of his death, he signed with the Upper Deck Company, and they charged $1,300 for him to sign a bat.
Just to sign a bat.
Just to sign the bat, and as a result, not so many people signed bats.
But not a game. But you're not talking about game used bat or anything.
It could be a bat. Yeah. But some people did go out and get game bats done. This is not that. This is a 1980s version, and that's why it's not as dark as maybe the signature on this program. So, what is a wonderfully used commemorative Mickey Mantle game used bat worth? That's the question, right?
What do you think it's worth?
Multiple thousands, I've been told, but...
Oh, multiple thousands indeed. As I said, it's a privilege to see one of these. These are rare. If I told you between $35,000 and $40,000, what would you say?
Wow.
Yeah.
That's what I'd say.
And in a good auction, could be as much as $50,000. With, and I know what your question is going to be. It always is. Does it have upside potential? Oh yeah.
I'm thinking it does.
It certainly does. This is one of the great bats, one of the great Mickey Mantle bats in the hobby, and with a tremendous upside value. And it is a privilege to hold it and to appraise it. And good luck with you.
Thank you.
This.
Paul, that must be a lot of fun and gratifying to have something.
It is.
Such a piece of history.
And it was gratifying to come on and be able to tell my grandfather's story too.
Yeah. Great. Well, thank you.
As
We
I said,
sure appreciate it.
And this is the priceless piece right here.
It is. Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, thank you for coming.
They're well connected.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.